What does it mean to understand yourself? Have you ever thought about that? And why do we have to understand ourselves? Can we live without understanding ourselves? I think everything begins with questions. Why do I live? Why do I do this job? Or what do I want? So, what do you want? What do you live for? And why don't I ask, what do I live because of, but instead ask, what do I live to do? I want to live, but I don't know what I live for. Don't worry. We all share a common problem that needs solving, and I hope you will find yourself through this video. Live. I have asked myself many times, what do I live for? For money? If so, how much money? And once I have money, then what do I live for? For the people I love? Then what about those who are less fortunate and have no loved ones by their side? Or those who have loved ones but feel as if they don't? In the end, is there anything that truly satisfies this question? I understand that to find the answer, I must go back to the roots where everything begins. Where is that, I ask myself? I return to where life began, where the world was first formed, to find my answer. I ask the most primitive questions, such as, how was life formed? Suppose the world was originally created by the hand of a higher being. When the world had no living creatures, there were probably only atoms. I think so. That is the smallest level. Even atoms seek each other out to form molecules naturally. From there, larger molecules are formed, then larvae, then insects, and eventually animals. That is where I see how life was first formed. Now, if we move the timeline forward a bit, what do living beings live for? Take a few examples, such as leopards. From birth, they must learn how to survive, right? Every day they have to find food. Or bears, it's the same. In winter, they even know to store food in advance, like fat in their bodies. But in the end, they live simply to live. Do they ask what they live for? I suddenly think of a penguin. There is a clip online showing a penguin leaving its colony, walking alone to another place, lonely, by itself, waiting for death. The reason is that its mate followed another penguin. This made me wonder. Perhaps they too have their own reasons for living. Then humans appeared. I think of a newborn baby. At that moment, it already knows that when it is hungry, it must suckle. No one teaches it how to nurse. As a natural instinct, any baby that is born knows it needs to put something into its stomach to survive. No, it doesn't even know what survival is or what living is. It simply fills its hungry stomach, just like all other creatures. At this point, I suddenly realized that the answer I had been searching for all this time is so simple that it makes me feel like a fool. Living is simply a natural law, and whatever is natural, don't try to resist it. And don't ask foolish questions like why we have to live, because it is a natural law. A baby is born without knowing its circumstances, without knowing what the future holds. It only knows to cry when hungry and to put everything into its mouth, even without being taught. Animals know how to find food to survive day by day, to store food when winter comes, because they know winter means no food. And no food means hunger, and hunger means death. This makes me ask myself, so what should the real question be? At the most basic level, I see that it is not why live, but how to live, and how should I live? To answer this question, you must know which aspect you are talking about. For example, in work, how should I live? In life, how can I live in that circumstance? How do I want to live in that situation, in that aspect? I think about prisoners of war. Many people say they survive because they thought of their families, their wives and children in such harsh circumstances, being tortured and beaten. And I think that in those circumstances, they had already answered the question of how to keep living. They thought of their wives and children in order to continue living. That was their way of living. So you should try to think, in your circumstances, in that aspect, how can you continue living, and how should you continue living? Don't ask foolish questions like I did. What are we born to live for? Living is a natural law. Don't ask that anymore. Find ways to live. Find all the aspects of your life and answer for yourself the question, how should I live in this aspect? I believe you will gradually understand yourself better. And please leave a comment below. Who knows, your way of living might become something others rely on as their own reason for living. There can be many reasons for living, but the right way of living, I think, is ultimately the same. Thank you for listening until here. The only goal of this channel is exactly its name. Understand yourself. My greatest wish is to be able to share what I have learned and experienced, and I hope someone will find something from this channel to better understand themselves. And don't forget to share your story below. It could be a great source of motivation for someone out there. See you again in the next video.